I feel that being here now, knowing that you weren't there then, going through the marching and the fighting, you know, you have a different outlook. You can always go back and say, I would have did this and I would have done that. But you can't say because you weren't really there. And that turmoil that they were dealing with, the calamities of life, is just entirely too much to really put your thumb on. You know, because your mother and your father or their grandparents were actually being beaten and abused in that way.
From the outset, Dr. King was a man with a purpose, and he was also divinely directed by a higher order. And he was a very spiritual man, so he was dealing with the moral fabric of this country and the moral conscience of this country.
I think one of his major legacies was he was a courageous person. You know, he spoke truth to power. And that one of his last famous speeches, you know, leading up to the sanitation workers protester strike in I believe it was Memphis, Tennessee, he really was sort of, it's almost as if he had a premonition that his life was on the line, but yet and still, he stood firm for what he believed in.
Well, I'd have to say that probably his influence on young people, school-age children. You know, I'm a retired educator, and I taught 12th grade English. When you ask the kids about what do they know about their history, you know, or you just broach any subject like that, the first thing out of their mouth is Dr. Martin Luther King, you know. And it seems as though he is the only leader who has left such a lasting impression on the young people.
A man of great character, great education, and I was best of all glad that he was a preacher, because I'd never seen a preacher acting or talking the way that he did, but it gave us dignity, and it made us feel very honorable that he would even sacrifice his life and his family's life to do what he did for Americans. And he didn't just do it for Black Americans, he did it for all Americans, because we all benefited from his platform. Everybody, women, whites, blacks, everybody. So when God sends a great human being on the scene as Martin Luther King, he shows all humanity how to behave.
We all came together at that time. Example was the march here in Detroit, where, you know, all different groups, Muslims, whatever, all joined in together. And for a certain period of time, we were all extremely focused on the problem, and we worked together to resolve the problem. And when you're focused, you can accomplish so much more than when you're in different areas and you're trying to do things separately.
I think if he were here, he could say to us he had the ultimate challenge, because what he had prepared himself to deliver to our community, the Creator prepared him to deliver to the world. But it shows us a model that we can use today with our families, with young people that we come in contact with our children, with our grandchildren, that we must still commit to being prepared for the physical life. The Creator will make it more than that, but we have to prepare ourselves, and that's what I love so much about him.
Today, knowing that Dr. King received the Nobel Peace Prize, and knowing that in 1982, I remember New Calvary Church, they had what you call a legacy or prayer breakfast of bridge builders, where we had honored Dr. Martin Luther King. So we know of his legacy, and it means a lot when you can bring people together in a peaceful way. Nonviolent works better, and you can still obtain and accomplish your goals.
To me, it means that I have a right to protest in an example that he led, without any violence, calmly, but yet getting my views and my points across. And also for preparing the way for me to make a better life for my kids. Just being that example.
I
believe that Dr. King, not only Dr. King, but he along with others that helped make it possible, I think he and the others helped bring to bear, to intensify that for real change in our country and perhaps for the other countries as well. We need the grassroots people to get out, to put the matter in the forefront, to bring it to bear upon all of those who have the ability to move things, to make things happen.
Well, his legacy means quite a bit. You know, growing up as a child in the city of Detroit, I went through a lot of different adversities, you know, as far as racial relationships, but nothing, you know, that would even compare to the things that he went through the struggles that he had. And looking as it has evolved over the years, you know, we've come a long way, but in light of a lot of the recent things that's happened as far as the devaluation of black lives, police killing black people, you know, that just lets us know that there's so much further that we have to go. You know, and we can learn a lot from his struggles, from his marches, nonviolent, but there's still so much more we have to learn and so much more we have to do.
Well, we're living his dream by having President Barack Hussein Obama as our president, who was twice elected by the people, which meant we were a contributing factor, considering being 25 million out of 250 million Americans.
We've benefited, like Gandhi, from him, the power and justice. People who are powerless have gotten the ability to get justice, equality, civil rights, and no matter if you're a woman, handicapped, black, white, yellow, green, purple, you're getting equal rights. That is the benefit that we've gotten from him.
Well, for me personally, it's that in February of 1968, I saw Martin Luther King at my high school, and he was brought to Detroit by the minister that ran the Unitarian Church across the street from the Grosse Pointe City Police Station, and we got along with the minister really well, and I've actually forgotten his name, but he was a very down-to-earth person that wanted to bring Martin Luther King to speak at my high school. But what's interesting is that the powers in charge of that high school did not allow any teenagers inside the gym, which was a very large building. So we went and stood in the parking lot and saw the minister drive up in his little white van, and Martin Luther King got out and turned and waved to us. I was about 75 feet away, then went into the gym, and that was in February of 1968, and 2 months later he was assassinated. So even though the year 1968 was a very chaotic year and I was only 15, that still is one of the most significant memories of my teenage years, of actually seeing Martin Luther King in person.
Dr. Martin Luther King's legacy means to me a proud black man who stood up for freedom, independence, what was right, morality for others.